Okay, everybody, so the generator has been connected. I'm going to show you the gas line work and the new gas meter, and we'll show you how everything is. Now, I'm not going to be running the generator. The first run is going to be on Saturday, when the guy comes here to test it and show me how everything goes. I'm not going to record that because, I want to focus on exactly what he's going to tell me. So afterwards, in a separate video, once we're all set, I'll get a run-up video for you, okay? But what we're going to do here is we're going to, I'm just going to show you the work that was done, show you some stuff in the basement, and then this video is actually going to be in two parts, but it'll be within the same video, so you won't have to watch a separate one. Just going to show how the gas line work was done, which was done very well, just for the record. And then we had something the first day that was kind of a hassle, but since been fixed. I'll get into that when we get to it, alright? Alright, so here we go. So like I had mentioned last time, there was this other port over here, and it is indeed for the gas line right there. You can see it goes in right there. And the only problem I'm seeing here is that I have a feeling this is supposed to go over here. I could probably... that moves very easily. I'll just slide it over when the time comes. And I'll just get this over here. So, easy fix. So the gas line is over here. And over here is the electrical line, as you mentioned before. And you can see here's the trench. That's all filled up now. And there's the gas line right there, right by the conduit. Very good work done here. The only flexible line is right here. The rest is black steel pipe, which is painted with gray Rust-Oleum for rust protection. And you can see right here he tied a clamp onto the foundation here. This is one, I don't know if this is a regulator or if this is just a vent, because all the pressure. In case there's ever back pressure, it can vent out. So that went on there very well. And this is the gas valve for the generator in this portion, just currently turned off for now. That'll be opened up on Saturday. And here's the fitting that goes right into the siding. So yeah, this looks very well done, nice and straight and done pretty well. Fantastic work, really. And the paint job is not too bad. He did get a little bit of overspray on the fittings here, but that's kind of hard to avoid. But he didn't get anything on the siding whatsoever, so he was very good with that. And that was good to see. So overall, I'd say this looks absolutely fantastic, and I really like how this all came to be. This will be re-landscaped at some point. I don't know when, but at some point this will look all nice and neat once again, and it's really going to look great. So some of those rocks we'll just put somewhere else, and we'll figure it out when the time comes. But everything looks good. Looks really good here. Inside of the generator hasn't really changed much. We did get like a torrential rain recently, but you can see here with the cover down, everything is fine. Owner's manual is still here, nice and dry and intact. So this cover is doing its job, which is very good. So, like I said, when the time comes, we'll give this thing a run up. Okay. All right. So let's go over to the other side of the house where the new gas meter is. And I can show you a couple of things over there. Really nice day today, by the way. Low humidity. You can see like not a cloud in the sky. Very nice. It is a good summer warmth, which you know me, I always like. But the humidity is nice and low today, which is fantastic. So, okay, let's head over here to the gas meter. And I can show you exactly what was done. Okay, so here it is right here. One of the things I'm really liking with this new gas meter is that some of you may remember the old meter, they didn't have the needle gauges like this. It was just a, it was kind of like an analog odometer in a car. That's what it kind of looked like. But this one went back to the other setup with the gauges, the needles, and the half foot and 2 feet gauges. So these are the ones that go the fastest. Well, this goes the fastest. This goes a little bit slower, and then it goes on this way. So I'm really happy to see that they use this kind of meter again. Very happy, kind of like the Long Island house has always had. The only problem is this is made of plastic, so this probably will fog up over time. But maybe I can, like, put some protectant on it or something. We'll see how it goes. And here's the new regulator. This regulator right here is to keep it at 2 psi, because 2 psi is what's used for the generator. And there's another regulator in the basement that you'll see, which is for everything else, if you remember. And this honestly came out very well. The guy did a good job and everything. This is a little bit in front of the spigot, as you can see. Really not that bad, but really there was no way around that. This was really the best way he can do it, and just turned it a little bit to keep the hose nice and free. So really I can't complain. It doesn't really look all that bad at all. And there's a fitting that goes into the house right there. And Jay, particularly for you, you may notice that, hopefully the camera's not tilted, but that meter is no longer crooked. and it looks fantastic. I love how it looks. I really like the red that's on the gauge area for the gas usage. You know, it really looks fantastic. He did the work from here on, so this pipe wasn't changed, and then everything else here. I mean, it's possible. I think this piping is also the original piping too. He just changed the meter itself, but basically the work that he did was from here on. So this pipe wasn't really touched at all. But I like how he straightened out the meter, and you know that looks really good, and everything's all set up here. So, okay, so let's head down to the basement, and we can see more of the work from there. Okay, and here we are at the gas valve manifold, showing you the changes, which I'm sure you can see already. So this is the main gas line, if you remember, coming from the meter. Okay, and here's the new regulator. And before the regulator, as you can see, there's this pipe with the green valve. That's going to the generator. And then this is the regulator right here, with another back pressure vent. And you can see from here on in, the regulator has to be put on rigid pipe. You can't use a flexible line. So they cut the flexible line here, as you can see, and then they changed the rest of it to rigid steel pipe, because that's what you got to use for the regulator. But I mean, really, I love the work that these guys do. They face everything forward, keep everything as straight as possible, face all the valves forward. Like, it's very rare you see that kind of quality work these days. Really fantastic. And I just love how this all looks. It really came out fantastic. And again, like the way it's set up is really great. So let me show you how they also put the line across too. Here's the line. You can see it goes up there, comes over to here, and you may notice that extra electrical conduit right there. I'll get to that later. And then here's the gas line on the right-hand side of the white central vacuum pipe. You see the run that they did here really is good. I like how they did it. I think they strapped it to every other floor joist, if I'm not mistaken. So there it goes over here, makes a turn over here above these ducts. Then here it is, goes along here. I got to fix that pipe insulation. I'll do that for a little bit later. And you can see it turns over there. And look at this like near straight run they gave it right out here. Then that's where it goes out there to the generator. I mean, look at how well done that is. He really tried to keep the line as straight as possible. I really like when I see work like that. I mean, not just for gas lines, but for like a lot of stuff. It really came out great. So, yeah, so there's the gas line going out to there. And then now a little update I'll give you here. You may notice this wire hanging in front of the circuit breaker panels. That wire is what's going to the cabana. I told you about that last time. And there are a couple of new breakers in the panel on the non-generator one. I think this one right here. Let's see. Yeah, I think this one here is for, this is either for the hot tub or it's for the cabana. I'm not sure, because it's a 240 volt, 60 amp circuit, so I'm not quite sure where that one's going to, but you'll find out eventually. And I think that's the hot tub conduit there. I don't remember seeing that there originally, but that's going to the hot tub panel, okay? And then here's the wire right here. All right, so I'll give you guys updates on that at least. And yeah, you can see where it all goes over there, okay? So now we'll follow the other direction. There's the wire we saw before, the other conduit, and there's the gas line. So they both meet up right around here. And let's see, so yeah, that goes over that way. And follow along. Again, you know, the electric work was done by our electricians, which I've said multiple times are awesome. So, and there's like a junction box right there, as you can see, and then it comes the rigid conduit, and it goes out there. So you can really see that these guys, both these gas guys and the electricians, really did some good work there. I think he had to heat up the conduit there to bend it just so it would go past the floor joist, but really it looks fantastic. And there you go. And you can see right here, guys, like I said, this really came out great. I love how the regulator's facing forward. Everything is facing forward. Valves are pointing forward and straight up. Really, I mean, like I said, just this whole gas valve setup, that in itself, when I first saw this house 2 years ago, was just like, I mean, I love that whole setup, and it's amazing. And it really came out great. So there's the whole setup, and then, as you saw, everything goes down that way. Okay, so everything's all said and done. Everything's in good shape. But actually, what I'll first say is, once they put the regulator on and turned everything back on, they did a pressure test with some of the stuff here in the house. The first thing they did was, we temporarily switched the first floor to heat, so that way the furnace would run, and he could just check the burners, check the the pressure going to it, and then he also checked the stove just to make sure everything was running correctly, and it was. So didn't really need any adjustments. It all came out great. So then, and then once we turned it off, let it cool down, put it back to AC mode. So that's all good. So yeah, we used the furnace in July, but only for a short time, just so you could see how the gas pressure was, and it all came out great. So the end result is good, guys. We did have one thing though that happened within the first day of this all getting done. And that is pretty much the second part of this video. So we shall start that right now. Alright, so after all that was said and done, they finished the work that they had to for the first, well, they mostly finished the work they had to for the first day. There was just one problem I was noticing. Okay, and what was going on was, I was walking down here every now and then just to see how things looked, how things were going. And every time I walked by here, there was definitely a gas smell. It was very mild, but it was just enough to the point where my nose was like noticing something. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you shouldn't be smelling that. So what happened was, the guys who did the work, well, there were two companies who did the work. The gas company themselves changed the meter, and the guys who ran the line to the generator did their own work. All right, so with that in mind, what we did was, the first thing he did was he did, like, you know, the soap test. He tested all the unions around here with soap to see if anything bubbled. He tested that union right there, everything there, and all the gas lines except for that one right there have a continuous run. So those are the only unions that we have to worry about. He put his bubble test on there, nothing was bubbling. So we're trying to figure out, okay, well, what's going on here? So they did a creep test on the meter, which means they look at the gauge that turns the fastest. They indicated where it was lined up, and then we had nothing running. This house has no standing pilots, just so you know. And no gas appliance was on, and they were still, the meter was still moving. So we're like, all right, something's definitely wrong here. So they tested everything again, like didn't know what was going on, and then in order to get the rest of the stuff tested, we had to contact the gas meter, because I don't blame the guys for this, just because there's so much liability nowadays. They didn't want to touch any gas line that they didn't work on for liability purposes. So, you know, we understood, we're like, okay, well, you know, thank you for trying, you know, we'll see what happens. So we called the actual gas company here. The guy came, very nice guy. He was well prepared and everything. He did the exact same thing. He bubble tested all the unions, I'm going to say 3 or 4 times, okay? And then, like, nothing. We didn't know what was going on. We're just all confused. And we're like, all right, let's try this test. Let's close every single valve that's on here. And that's what we did, including the generator valve. We closed every single valve here. He checked the gas meter. Sure enough, it was still moving. So obviously, something is going on before the valves. Well, he came with his tester. It's like a little pump-like machine that has a little nozzle. You put it on the unions, and like the slightest amount of gas that it will detect, it'll make a beep sound and everything. So he went along every single union before the valves, even after, just to be sure. He went to the new generator valve, over here, the regulator. He wasn't picking anything up. So it's like, all right. So he's thinking, let me try one more thing. Okay, as you know, the pipe outside is rigid pipe, and this is the flexible line. So he's like, let me try looking up here or something. He puts his nozzle right to the wood beam, and it starts beeping like crazy, and he got a reading of 100%. And we're like, oh, there's the problem. There's the gas line that has the issue. Now, of course, the problem with that is that's before that's before the actual valve manifold. So what does that mean? The only temporary solution is to shut the gas off to the house. So then that's what they had to do. So before I go on further with that, you know, my mom was talking to both companies. The gas company was trying to talk to them about they moved the pipe and maybe they did something. It was a huge hassle. My mom was getting all stressed out, but you know, and I was getting stressed out too, because then, you know, that means for the rest of the day, what was it? It was like 7 o'clock in the evening. The house didn't have any gas. So we settled everything for the next day, and what happened was, let me just combine my thoughts here for a second, be right back. And actually what I should say is, so that evening, after making all the phone calls, you know, my mom and I are really stressed out, you know, just more stressed like the backyard stuff too. I was like, okay, listen, I was like, let's just take a breather, like, go out to eat. we'll de-stress that way. We'll come back. We'll figure something out, okay? Because now the house has no gas for the night. So I was thinking, okay, let's think about what's the most affected. So obviously, both the basement furnace and the attic furnace doesn't matter because it's not heating season, so we don't have to worry about those. The dryer, we have no laundry to do right now, so that wasn't a problem. And the only one problem was that, we couldn't use the stove, but again, we went out to eat, so the stove wasn't going to be used that night. And my only concern, of course, was the water heater, because as you know, the water heater is natural gas, so it needs that to heat the water. So I'm thinking, okay, well, here's what we can do. I have to go to work the next day, but the water heater is 75 gallons, and I don't use 75 gallons of water when I shower, so I figured, okay, let's just leave everything off. I'll use the shower later on, and that should be fine. And it was. The shower was warm the entire time that I was in there, and it was still warm when I shut the water off, so it all worked out. And then the next day, while I was at work, they came here, they did what I was at work, so obviously I told you I don't know what they did. They came here, fixed everything up there, fixed the meter outside, did their next creep test. Meter didn't move. It was all good. Gas company came by, tested everything, turned the gas back on, everything was back to normal. So really, it wasn't all that too bad. It did work out, but just the initial thought of no gas in the house, it was a huge hassle, really. And I don't really know who was at fault for the whole thing, but, at least it's fixed. And I mean, in all honesty, I can't blame the gas guy for having to shut the gas off because, think about it. Gas would be leaking in here overnight. And I mean, something as simple as the dehumidifier cycling would be enough to probably ignite it. Who knows? Actually, no, probably just the zone dampers cycling would be enough to trigger something. But, thankfully, it didn't happen. The end result is the generator's all hooked up. All the gas problems are fixed. There's only one problem, but you get the idea. That's all fixed. Everything's back to normal. Gas is back on, and we're all set. So there you guys go. And when I can, I will get I will get a video of the generator going for you. Really, all in all, aside from that one problem, well, not too bad. All the work they did was very professional, and just that one issue. It happens. We understood. But, at least it's all good now. So when I can, I will get the video of the generator running for you guys, okay? So as usual, thank you very much for watching, and take care.